What's up guys, I'm GG23 here and I'm back with another video, and this one's another impressions video. I feel like I've been doing a lot of these lately. Anyway, getting right into it, Apple just announced their new MacBooks for 2016, and here are all the things you guys need to know about. And so first of all, they introduced two colors, the classic silver and then the space gray. And the space gray, I love that space gray. If I had to choose one, it'd be that one. Anyway, so there are three different 13-inch models. And so it starts at $1,499 and goes up to $1,999. And then they have two models for the 15-inch, and it starts at $2,399 and goes up to $2,799. And those are not including the customizations you can do. So with these new MacBooks, they're thinner and lighter, of course. And so with the 13-inch MacBook, it is 14.9 millimeters thin, which is basically the thickness of two iPad Airs stuck together, which is incredibly thin. And then for the 15-inch MacBook, they are 15.5 millimeters thin, which is also crazy thin. And when it comes to weight, now the 13-inch now is 3 pounds and the 15-inch is 4 pounds. Also, because they're a lot thinner and lighter, they also take up a smaller amount of space on your desk because they have a smaller footprint. Also now, the whole entire MacBook is made of metal. The hinge, the body, everything metal. Unibody. So awesome. The logo is not even plastic. In fact, sadly, the logo doesn't even light up anymore. Rest in peace, light up logo. Rest in peace. So the first new feature is the Touch Bar and Touch ID. So the Touch Bar basically replaces all those function keys at the top, which allowed you to change brightness, volume, all those things. But they're still there. It's just now a touchscreen OLED screen. And it's really useful because in certain apps like Safari or Final Cut Pro or iMovie, you can take advantage by having your favorite functions at the top of there, which you can customize, which is pretty cool. So yeah, you can have maybe a trim button for iMovie, or you can have all your favorite tabs for Safari, and it's really nice. And so as far as customization goes, in like the quick settings, which is like the brightness, the volume, all of that stuff that you used to have is just dedicated keys, you can add like a do not disturb button, which would be really nice so that you don't have to go into the settings and turn it on. Also, where the power button is, now they also have Touch ID, which is the second generation Touch ID covered by sapphire crystal, and is really, really quick. So the Touch ID can be used to sign into your MacBook, it can be used to use Apple Pay, and yeah, it's really useful. So you may be wondering how they keep this all secure. Well, Apple just introduced a new T1 chip, which is supposed to make sure that it's all secure so that no one can hack your fingerprint and get it so they can create a copy and get into your MacBook. So good on you, Apple, always keeping with security. Also, one thing I'd like to point out is that on the cheapest model, it does not have the Touch Bar or Touch ID, which is kind of disappointing, but I can kind of see why they did it so that they can keep the price down, since I'm sure that's a pretty costly feature to add that in. Next, to the keyboard, which is your main way of interfacing with the MacBook. So the keyboard now has the same butterfly switches which are on the 12-inch MacBook. So those don't have as much key travel, but Apple did introduce this as the second generation, which should have more key travel and make it feel better as a keyboard. Also, for the trackpad, it's 2 times as large on the 15-inch model, and it has Force Touch, so it should be a nice area for you to drag your finger across. And Apple has always had really good trackpads. Also, they have new speakers, and they should be better than the already great speakers on the 12-inch MacBook of last year. Next, to display. The display is now brighter, it's got more contrast, and it has a wider color gamut, so it should be really useful for video editing, photography, and it should just look really good for whatever you're doing. And of course, it's a Retina display, which they have had for a very long time, and it's just a really good looking display. Now onto what really matters when it comes to a new generation of MacBooks, or any computer for that matter, and that is the new specs. So the first thing is that Apple upgraded from the 5th gen or 4th gen processors to the 6th gen Intel processors, or Skylake. Even though now they're up to 7th, I think they used that because it was more widely available and it would cut down on costs. So for the 13-inch MacBooks, they're all dual core, sadly, and the base is always an i5, but you can upgrade it to an i7 in your customization. And for the 15-inch MacBooks, they're all quad-core i7 chips, so you should have no problem with power there, but if you do need power, you can add a little bit more in their customization. Next, to the graphics, and the 15-inch MacBook has Radeon Pro graphics, which you can either have 2GB or 4GB of, and then for the MacBook 13-inch, it has built-in Intel Iris 550 graphics, except for in the cheaper model, which has 540 graphics. So now, ports. So when it comes to ports, it has 4 USB-C ports and a headphone jack, thankfully. Also, I'd like to point out that on the cheaper 13-inch model, they only have 2 USB-C ports. Anyway, so the USB-C ports are really useful because it's basically a jack of all trades. It can be used to power your monitor, it can be used to transfer data, and it can be used for power. So you can use any of those ports for power on either side, which is nice. You're not limited to one like you were on the 12-inch MacBook. Also, with these new ports, Apple has worked with LG to introduce a 5K display. LG will be selling, and I think this is the closest thing we'll ever get to another Apple cinematic display that's 5K. Anyway, so the new MacBooks can power 2 of them, which is incredible considering they're both 5K. So you can have this ultra workstation and it'll just be beautiful. And finally, battery life. The battery life should be 10 hours according to Apple, and that's a ton of battery life. Just like every other single MacBook has always had great battery life, this one should have great battery life, so you should have no problem with that. Also, the reason why the 13-inch cheapest model, besides it just being able to cut down prices, has less ports, less power as far as graphics go, and less of pretty much everything, it's because it's directly going to be the replacement for the MacBook Air. It's thinner, it's lighter, it's got a smaller footprint, it's got better specs. I mean, it makes sense, except for the fact that it's more expensive, which is, I don't like. Good, but whatever, Apple, you do you, and we'll just have to live with it. I would personally rather just have a newer MacBook Air. Anyway, so that now makes it that the MacBook 12-inch is now the cheapest at $1,299. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you guys want to see more of me, if you're new to the channel, click that subscribe button, click the like, leave a comment on something maybe you want to see, and I will see you in the next one.